ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Camilita Podcast. This is where you learn to live like a champion. On today's episode, I have got, my God, one of the female African woman champions in the world. Literally, you guys, you need to hear this. Professor Dr. Lici Ngambi is a business leadership expert amongst everything else. She has got degrees in business leadership and master's in science. She's got an MBA. She's got a Bachelor of Arts degree in business admin. She's got certificates in Chartered Institute of Marketing. I mean, the list is endless. Like, she will tell you, she's got a lot. But I think what is the most important thing from what I can read in her bio, she is the founder and director of RARE Solutions. And RARE stands for responsible, accountable, relevant, and ethical, which is what her personality and her life is based upon. She has been vice Nkrumah, vice chancellor at the Molungushi University. Oh, I just love these words. In from 2012 to 2021, she is currently at Kwame Nkrumah University in Zimbabwe. She's the first woman to be appointed in such a position in the Republic of Zambia. And my friend is going to Zambia next week, so I definitely need to introduce him to her. She has done so much. I mean, over the last 20, 30 years, she's raised funds for colleges and universities and for libraries, and like it's just huge. It's just huge. Like, I really want to understand. So look, let's get into it because she needs to tell us. Welcome to the Camilita Podcast, Professor Dr. Lici Ngambi.
Wow! Thank you so much for that intro. Camilita, thank you so much. Let me just say I'm in Zambia, not Zimbabwe. So I'm in Zambia, and the universities are both the Mulungushi University and Kwame Nkrumah University, are both in Zambia. Thank you so much. So what do you want to hear from me? Once upon a time, I was born.
Listen.
Where should I start?
My friend is.
You can just call me Lici.
Lici, okay. My friend is always talking about Zambia, and he's always talking about going over there and how beautiful it is. First, I want you to tell me about the country Zambia. Tell me about what the country is like, how beautiful it is, because I've heard and I've seen.
Oh, yeah. Okay. From there, the country is extremely beautiful, friendly. We have got the falls that many people dream of. We don't just have one Victoria Falls, which is one of the wonders of the world, one of the 7 wonders of the world. But furthermore, we also have many other falls, in different areas or different regions within Zambia. We have got animals, we have got beautiful land, we have got, anything, we have got minerals, we have got what you dream of, you come to Zambia to find it.
Oh,
it's a beautiful country.
You're making me want to come. You're making me want to come. My friend is going. You're making me. I will introduce it to him. He would be like, he would completely blown away. So now then, you've got degrees as long as your arm. You've got accolades as long as your arm, and qualifications. Why? And I know for you, because I've read a lot, it's not about the qualifications, it's about access, and it is about your story. Tell us a little bit more about the story, your backstory, why this was so important for you, not to do only, but to teach others.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, it has been more, maybe they are correct about the story. Very early, when I was young, I grew up in a very remote area to start with, very, very remote area of Zambia with no bridges at that time. Even at this currently, not all the rivers have got bridges. And I was going to a school, what we call, we used to call it a weekly boarding school, where you actually go to school on Sunday, and with your food, okay, with all that you need, everything that you need, the food, the beddings, everything that you need, you go with it on Sunday. You go to school, and then you, when you're at school, you cook for yourself, and you still have to go to class and do everything else. And then on Friday, you go back home to replenish the food and everything that you need. But there was also one thing that I think drove me the most was that the school was very far. So the school was, you had to walk, right? So it's like about maybe 40 kilometers or so away, and you're a kid. And when you're going to school, you have to carry your food on your head. And there still is a very big river called Bemba, Bemba. This river, it's very wide. So if you're crossing and you're a kid, and you don't know that it rained, where the river is coming from, it rained somewhere there, you're in the middle of the river, the water can come and carry you and you can die. And quite a number of kids died. I was trying to cross to go to school. I survived, and actually from my village, most of the girls were stopped from going to school. I was actually even probably the first one to even have a degree from that village. They were stopped because it was too risky. So they decided to just support the boy child to go to school, and the girl child can get married. And then my dad asked me a question, said, well, you are going to have to take a risk if you want to. If you don't want to take the risk, you'll be like grandma so, living in a small, tiny house, doing nothing and all that. So he used that. And then I looked, then I told him, I'll take a risk. Then he started teaching me, saying, just look at, if you see that, it might have been raining, then don't, stand until you see the water coming. If you're in the middle, then, he started teaching me all techniques and all that. So that helped me to be very determined to say, wow. If you school, in fact, I asked him, I said, where does school end? I said, I was a kid then, I'm asking, where does school end? Because I want to go and find out after all this I'm going through. So anyway, so that was part of my background that really pushed me. And, when I look back, that was one of the aspects that really pushed me to go all the way as much as possible. And also my dad always used to say, look, when it comes to people, because my dad was also a village headman, he passed away. So he was saying that, where anytime you are with people, even when at a boarding school, remember, it's not about you. It's not just about you. It's also about the people you're interacting with. It's the people that make you to become the best that you can ever become. So you need to be able to respect them. You need to be able to interact with them respectfully and treat them with dignity and ensure that you give your best to them. They will be your marketer. That's what he told me at a very young age. So I always, had that perspective from when I was a kid, yeah.
Your father seemed to be such a very wise man for sharing that with you. Yeah, sharing that with you. And now, because of that, you have done that for so many other thousands and tens of thousands of children over the years in all of what you've achieved and all of what you've done. That is so commendable. Do you know, when you said that just now about you were dying to go to school, I just thought to myself, that is a book that you need to write, Dying to Go to School, so that people understand the backstory behind what does that mean, that people actually died and you actually made it. And there are so many people that are privileged who don't really understand what it means for dying to go to school.
I hope I will. I hope I will. I've told some of the stories over, but maybe I should write a book like yourself.
You do need to write that book. You really do. And I know, and I think it will inspire so many, not just Black children or Black people or, women. I think it will inspire people in whatever race, whatever color, wherever they are in the world, about what sacrifice means and what tenacity means and what, making all the things in which you've made happen mean. Wow. So, okay, your dad obviously instilled this within you and you started asking, where does school end? Like, what else is there for me? And so obviously you kept going with all these degrees and all of these things that you have, that you've helped so many people with. What would you say was the turning point in your life whereby you wanted to impact more people? Because there had to be something to not just go serving yourself by getting the most for yourself, but then you've pushed to be the best in so many areas and the first woman to actually do most of those things. What was the shift? What came as a turning point for you that you achieved all of that?
I think the turning point for me was when I realized that knowledge, skills, competences, values, attitudes for success, or even to become a champion, so to say, does not have color, does not have gender, does not have ethnicity. Whoever you are, you can be a woman brought up in the poorest remote areas, but you can make it if you decide to. If you just sacrifice and you push and you say, I'm going to go for this. And I will be able, not just for me, but everywhere I go, I can be able to carry this story to say, look, it's okay for you to be a woman. It's okay for you to be Black. It's okay for you to be Toro or from whatever tribe. It's okay. You can still make it in life if you choose to, and you put your mind to it. And you can still able to help another person next to you.
So why was this help another person next to you so important for you? Why was that so important for you? Was it because of your upbringing, your dad? What was it?
It was I think it was my upbringing, and especially my dad. What he kept on, over and over, imparting me and talking to me and saying, look, it's a decision that you have to make, in life. We have to take risks. There's no way, my dad was like around, he was a village head man, and there were no doctors, so he was even, I don't know where he learned how to even inject people when they were sick, but he used to do that. And he was somewhat a pastor, so he was like an arounder,
yes.
And then advisor of the chief and all that. So he really, it wasn't just me, but yes. I always tell people, we say that sometimes your upbringing,
yes.
The family you grew up in is what will make you or break you, but it's not necessarily that each and every child in listening to the same story, being taught the same things by their parents will end up being the same.
True.
You can have in the same family, somebody picks it up and takes it and says, I'm going to make sure that what my dad has taught me, I will do it. Another will just take another route. So it's also a choice, listening and being teachable. So yes, I listened and I to my dad, to my parents, and then I learned and I said, I'm going to do this. And so that was my turning point. It was like, if somebody did not help me, if my dad did not help me to explain to me, and teach me to say, it's okay for you to take risks and to cross that river, remember, and make something of yourself, I probably wouldn't have, gone this far. Yeah.
So would you say that mentors and coaches are crucially important for all aspects of life, not just entrepreneurship, but career building and building yourself as a whole? How important, because obviously your dad was crucially important in your mentorship, yes. But after your dad and you sort of went off doing your own thing, who else were your mentors? Yes. Who else did you look up to?
Well, in terms of my elder brother is also late. He was something else. After I left, then I went to stay with my elder brother, who was now, I was coming out from the village and all that, so I'm there, and he was now keeping me. He would always, make me do certain things. They're teaching me. For example, once upon a time, there used to be James Hadley Chase, books. He would say, make me read those, and he would say, in the evening when he comes from work, tell me the story. And then I tell him the story that I read and said, what did he teach you? What did you learn from that? And then he would sit together and he would play, some puzzles. And he would say, be determined and be persevere. Make sure that we're not sleeping until this puzzle is done. So, but it was then thereafter, I had another person in my life, a Dr. Enoch Stima. Dr. Enoch Stima is in Botswana. He started teaching me as well in terms of life is only fulfilled when you give your best to others. Life and he started talking about leadership a lot. With him, he started talking about leadership a lot. And all that. So there are certain, people that have really meant a lot. My mom, my dad and my mom, and then my elder brother, the various Ngambi, they are both late, and then Dr. Enoch Stima from Botswana, and of course the wife as well. They really, helped me to bounce back. They taught me resilience. They taught me, when you are down there, you can rise up again. Just know that you can do this and all that. So yeah, there are people that I really acknowledge in terms of my leadership. What learning about leadership and all that, the foundation, it was that from that mentorship, that coaching. People don't give up on you, they are forever there, for you. So those are among the people that have really impacted.
But you've done you there now for so many other people, as a lecturer, as a professor, as a teacher, as a coach. You are there for so many other younger people, students. What would you say is the biggest difference between when you went to school and your thought pattern and your belief and the opportunities that were available to you, and the students that you teach, lecture, or share with, or have been doing that with? What would you say is the biggest difference between both groups of people?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest difference is that that's my opinion is that I think the aspect of entitlement, it's really what our younger ones need to understand, that you are not entitled to anything that you haven't worked for. You're not entitled to anything that you don't walk the extra mile for. You are not. So they have this thing that as if I'm entitled to, I'm entitled to you giving me what. So that I think is different. And also as a result, you notice that even those that we teach now, most of them, even at an odd age, they are still with their parents, especially in our African environment. They are still with their parents, because with us, I left, I was on my own at the age of 21? I'm saying on my own from my elder brother and everybody else. I was already on my own in 2021. I was already completely on my own. Whereas these days, you'll find that most of our kids still so much at that age still depends maybe on their parents and others. So I think the attitude of entitlement is a challenge. And as a result, they don't understand that there are aspects of accountability and responsibility. And I think that is not, they haven't grasped at the level that we did. Maybe because with them, life is easy, everything is there, life is somewhat relatively easy, but they need to understand that even at that level, you should be able to work to become a champion.
Indeed.
Handouts cannot help you to reach at the top. It's
I love that.
You really need to. Yeah.
I love that.
Yes, it will help. It might help you to start off, but it cannot sustain you.
Indeed.
Handouts cannot sustain you. You need to be able to. Yeah.
So as a woman in so many levels of authority in Africa and across the world, what are some of the challenges you faced in your own leadership as a woman and as a Black woman? What are some of the challenges you faced?
The challenges that I faced as a woman, they are quite enough. I think the aspect that people don't seem to understand the role of a woman, the perception, the traditions, the culture.
Yes.
So the challenges that I faced, among the biggest one, I'll just be talking from my experience. The first one that I encountered was when I got a scholarship to go and study at Muncie, Indiana, in the USA. Most of my colleagues, the men, went with their wives if they wanted to. So I decided to convince my husband, who was working, to stop working so that he can come with me and maybe go and study. Because I had a scholarship, he didn't. Unfortunately, I think I was very good at convincing him. I managed to convince him. So I go now to the University of Zambia then. I said, look, my husband is coming with me. He has agreed to have got a baby, a 6-month-old child. So we are going with the baby. And so he has agreed to come with me. So I need the forms of the accompanying spouse. And I was told, no, that cannot happen. The forms do not have any area where it says, and her husband. The forms you have to sign, all of them say, and his wife.
Ooh.
So you can't take your husband. The policies, the practices, even the forms themselves do not say that. So I'm young now, I'm just going for my master's now. I just finished my first degree because what they used to do is they would give you scholarships. They would take the cream of the year at the University of Zambia at that time and give them some scholarships to go and study further so that they can come back and lecture. So I was one of the fortunate ones that got that. And now my friends are going with with their wives, and me, I can't go with my husband. So that was the first struggle. And so I struggled, of course, and fortunately, eventually, they changed the forms from and his wife to and his or her husband or something. So that was the first child that I had as a woman.
Wow.
And so eventually I went with my husband. Okay, we come back now. We have finished my master's, my MBA. I'm back, and my husband managed also to finish his degree. His degree was in a master's, but in journalism. So we come back. Now, because he had designed to join me, and me, I still had a job because I was sponsored. So we come back now. He's going to be looking for a job. So I go to say, okay, everybody who was coming, they were giving them houses, the institution houses. So I go to ask for my house. They tell me, no, ma'am, you are married. We cannot give you a house. My colleagues, the other men, they are getting their houses, but me, I'm also lecturing the same way with the same workload, everything else. Because I'm married, I cannot give you a house. I said, you're kidding me. But if for some reason God helped me not to be violent in my negotiation, so I used non-violent communication. So I said, okay, in that case, since you acknowledge me to be, I wrote a very long letter to them. I said, thank you very much for acknowledging me to be a woman, a married woman. So because I'm a married woman, I'm no longer going to take the full load because I have to attend to the, the wifely duties. So I'm going to have to take less course load. And also, I'm also going to have to only come at certain hours. For example, about 11, I must go back because I have to go and cook for my husband, etc., etc. So I and then I have to leave work. I have to leave work by 16 hours so that when my husband is coming, I'm there to welcome him. So I thank you for acknowledging me as a married woman. So I'm just going to I'm just telling you that I'm going now to fulfill my marital duties. Anyway, to cut the long story short, I got the keys to the house. I was given a house.
This is priceless. This is priceless. Oh my God, this is and I know you got probably hundreds of stories to share, but this is priceless. So would you say that you're a pioneer in women and women's leadership, not just in your own country, but across Africa or perhaps across the world? What would you say you're one of the pioneers? Would you say that?
Well, I would say, I never intended to. I never said I'm going. Situations forced me to. the challenges that I faced in life forced me to, to be so, to not say, it wasn't. I didn't plan on it because I didn't even imagine that anybody could do that.
Yes.
But somehow I was given some wisdom to deal with them and ended up paving the way for many other women. And every place where, even when I came back, when I became the first female vice chancellor in the Republic of Zambia, I come back. There are other vice chancellors. I'm a woman, and my salary was that of 5 levels lower than my counterparts.
My God.
So as latest as that. So it's something that we read all the time. It's like you have to, and you work so hard. You have to put so much effort, and still you will sometimes be treated, in a way that is shocking. That people would not treat other men as they do you. you as a woman, in as much as you are probably putting double so many times what they put in. We are not arrogant, we try to be humble, but at the end of it all, it's like it's a journey. Yes, things have improved, but we haven't reached yet. Yeah.
And you're right. Things are improving, but women are still, I mean, even I face it sometimes. Women are still treated like they are not as smart or not as eloquent or not as sort of business savvy as some men. Because even when I phone up, my husband and I would invest in property. And when I phone up and ask about a property, the way in which even though there's a woman on the other line who's working for that company selling the property, the way she would perceive me when I'm asking questions about the property is as if I don't know what I'm talking about. And when I'm the one usually buying the property. So then my husband would come on the line and then she would completely change in the way she's speaking to him because he's the man and so he supposedly know more about property when I'm the one buying the property. So you are absolutely right. We are still facing this craziness. And so Women's Month is next month, or March, I should say, this going out in March. Women's Month is in March. What would you say, give us 2 or 3 things that you would like to see in your lifetime that women stop dealing with this craziness? Give me 2 or 3 things that women just needs to stop dealing with, that people need to recognize women and their contribution and sort of what they do. Give me 2 things you would like to see change, whether it's in Africa, whether it's in Asia, globally, black or white.
In women themselves, I would say, women, you are not an extension of anybody's opinion. Do not allow anybody to trash you. Do whatever you can to ensure that you are who you were made to be the champion. If anything, even in terms of leadership, even research by many, quite a number of people who have written on research. I now remember, like Tom Peters and people have written on, I've done research on leadership. They acknowledge that the 21st century needs the skills of a woman to be sustainable. So do not allow yourself as a woman, don't apologize for being a woman. Don't allow yourself to be like treated like a second-class person. You are not. You have got what it takes. You don't have to be arrogant. You just have to do it, and they will eventually understand that you can do this. You don't have to even avenge or something like that, but you have to ensure that you are confident enough to say no to the nonsense around you, because to the perceptions, the cultures, the discrimination, treating you like you are a second-class citizen. You are not. All I do when I go into a place, I don't even waste time on who says what. I just do the job. I do the work, and the work starts speaking for me. Indeed. So as a woman, just do it. And for me, I even include say just be rare, responsible, accountable, relevant, and ethical in all your conduct, in whatever you do. And whether they like it or not, they might even want to crush your values. They might even want to stumble on them. But hey, you cannot keep, what is correct and right and appropriate down. You can't. Eventually, they'll just have to raise their hand and salute you.
I love it. I love it. Give me one more. What would you like to see changed in the world? Not just from a woman's perspective, but from a man or from a global perspective, in the recognition of what women does. Is it salary, or what would you say?
I would say that I think everything, the policies, the practices, the laws, everything that has to really, we need to really respect the woman as we do respect the man. We everybody at every level. So yes. Even the packages, the salary package, everything that reward work, not gender.
Oh, I love that.
You can't. Yeah, you reward the work, not the whether somebody's man or woman is irrelevant. Reward performance. So look at who is competent enough and to do the job. And if the woman is competent enough, take that woman. So whatever the rules about, the women and all that, and wanting to pull them down, and it's not going to work. Because the woman, I think most of us now no longer can take that. So change it. And besides, you need us to sustain development. You cannot look down and trample on 52% of your assets and expect that 48. I think from what I've known, 52% are women in the world. I think at least in Africa, but I think all over the world.
In the world,
we are 52%. I think we are 52%, if not 50-50, but 52%. So you cannot ignore one of your major resource, your major asset, a woman with all the skills and the competence, the attitudes, their values, to add to economic development, to add to sustainability, to add to performance. You cannot ignore that asset. So you must change the rules, the practices, the laws, and the attitudes towards a woman, and just value her for who she is, just like any other person. Because like I'm saying, knowledge, competences, attitudes, values do not have gender, ethnicity, or or color, or tribe. Anyone can make it.
And you know what?
Value that.
I tell you, man, listen, man, preach it. That's all I can say is preach. It's so, and this, you know what the sad thing is though, Dr. Lici, the sad thing is all of these men came from a woman.
I know, right? I know, right? And they live with a woman.
Oh my days! They all came from a woman with all the ego.
With the arrogance.
Priceless, it's priceless. So one last question before we close off, Dr. Lici. What is next for you? What are your plans? Are you planning to retire? Are you planning to keep lecturing? Are you planning to share? Are you planning to travel the world? And what are you planning to do? What's the next things? I mean, you've done so much.
Okay, so my next thing is running now Mutepa Rare Solutions. So, you know, the information and all that, if somebody goes on www.muteparare.com, Mutepa, M-U-T-E-P-A, Rare, R-A-R-E.com, muteparare.com, you'll find what is my next step. I want to really go out there and tell people, in fact, if I had an injection, I would inject everybody with a rare. Be responsible, accountable, and ethical. Just be rare. I would inject it because you cannot sustain success. You can be intelligent, you can be hardworking, but if you have got the best values, if you are toxic, if you are toxic and you have a bribery or corruption and all that, you cannot sustain. But if you are responsible, you're asking yourself your questions. Am I responsible to myself and everybody I'm interacting with? Am I accountable for every decision I make, every choice, every conversation? Am I accountable? Am I relevant? Am I adding value to another person? Am I relevant? Am I ethical in my conduct? Am I being rare? So if you are not being rare, you can even succeed. But at some point in time, you just, you can't sustain that success. So I'm going out there to say, this is what I'm going to be doing. I'll be doing, going to the organizations. What are your challenges? Is it productivity? Maybe low productivity because of some debased values, or is it, challenges with diversity? Is it transformation? What is it? Is it poor leadership, toxic leadership? Whatever it is, I'm there. I'm going to be there teaching people, through workshops, through seminars, through what? Let us just be rare. We can improve our productivity in the institution. Maybe it's a planning, strategic planning. You don't know because of whatever. We are there. But all of that, I'm infusing. The centerpiece of it, just being rare, being responsible, accountable, and ethical. That's what I'm building. Everything that I'm going to be doing from the home. I mean, as simple as teaching a child in the home. After you eat, take your plate and put it in the sink. If you are playing with toys, put them away because your brother can trip on them. Going to the schools, it's not necessary for you to kill another person for whatever reason. Going to institution, it's not to discriminate against any other person, a woman or a black or whoever. Work together and all that. And at the end of it all, I want us to have sustainable futures that each and every person can be proud of, that I added something to another person and empowered somebody. So that's my next thing. If I had my way, if I could, I would go from home to home, institution to institution, country to country, globe to globe, and tell everybody and help people say, hey, let's just be rare. It's possible. We can be rare.
Yes, it is.
So that is my next thing. Yes, I would like to travel in the process. and go to all different places, travel some more. I think I've been to about, I don't know, 35 countries. Maybe I can be a little bit more and things like that. Yeah. Yeah. So that's
well,
what
Dr. Lici, I tell you, you've inspired me even more. I mean, as a woman entrepreneur, I am inspired with my own story, but you've inspired me so much more just with what you do. So thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I really, really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy, and I just love your heart behind what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It has been really a pleasure to meet you. And I trust that this is meeting, you see, this meeting here, virtual here, this is eventually, I'm sure somehow, somewhere we'll meet some more. And hopefully, you know, we can be able to interact more and empower each other and go further to help and empower someone to become better and the champion they were born to be. Thank you very much for having me, and I appreciate it, and God bless. Thank you.
You too, you too. Well, ladies and gentlemen, look, you've heard it here on the Carmelita podcast, Dr. Lici. And my God, if anything else you take away today is that whole thing about being accountable. It's all that whole thing about being rare. What does that mean? That whole thing about being responsible, being accountable, being relevant, and being ethical. Why that's important, not just for business, but for life. You know, Dr. Lici talked about this whole idea of entitlement, where people are, they feel as if things should be given to them. But it's not about that. It's about you challenging yourself to win, challenging yourself to go forward and be the change. You know, we talked a lot about it, be the change. And you know, and women in particular that are listening, you're not an extension, she says, of anyone. You are original of yourself. Be the leader in which you're called to be. And she talked about just constantly focusing on, you know, what do we need to see change? Then we need to change. We need to believe in our ability to make change and to sustain change. Because again, all men came from women. You know, she talked about the reward of work and why we should be rewarded just as well as anybody else. If her story, her backstory, her now story, her story and, you know, all that she's done has inspired you to be even more rare in your life, then please go to, and I'll spell it for you, M for mother, UTEPARARE.com. We will put it in the chat as well so that you have it. Go to that website and just leave your details and send her an email, rare.solutions@mutaparari.com. Again, we'll put it in the chat so you can find her. But send her a message and, you know, just say, you know, you've heard her, you'd love her to share, you'd love her to speak, you'd love her to do something, because her own story and her own journey should inspire us to truly go out and live, indeed, like a champion as she is. So this is Carmelita here from the Carmelita podcast saying, I'll see you soon, and you know, I will see you at the top. That's it.